Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to start my presentation talking about something that is in the forefront of everybody's mind in the last year and a half, disruptions. Now, disruptions they're a normal occurrence in any industry. We have them all the time. But in the last 18 months, they were unparalleled. The entire supply chain for most industries was impacted by the pandemic. A lot of companies unfortunately closed their doors, but others flourished. What did they do differently? The responses to disruptions by some of the examples here are Bauer Hockey. They're a maker of hockey equipment for players and goalies. They pivoted from hockey masks, which the demand for which plummeted because the National Hockey League shut down, to full-face single-use visors for healthcare professionals, which was in huge demand at the time. They had all the equipment, they had the right type of supply for the raw materials, and they were able to pivot very quickly because they had a good connection of suppliers. Pernod Ricard, they're a manufacturer of wine and spirits. They use their excess alcohol left over from reduced bar and restaurant demand to make hand sanitizer, which of course was hugely in demand once the pandemic hit. And finally, we've got Battlefield International. They're an engineer-to-order military equipment parts manufacturer, very proficient at making military equipment, but never had done anything for the medical profession. They started making a medical device that they knew nothing about, but it was a response to a pandemic need for automated ventilators. Again, they had a very strong source of suppliers. They were able to get all the right equipment to manufacture this new product. But what these companies all seemed to have in common was they leveraged a cross-functional planning capabilities. They were able to communicate through all the different departments, and they took advantage of their centralized database. The global visibility of that data was also crucial. Everybody had access to the same data, and they were able to use real-time dynamic analysis, and each department was therefore able to pivot very quickly to the new product. The quality of their data was dependent on the collaboration of every department. I'm going to talk about 4 hurdles that you would have to probably be facing if you're trying to get S&OP off the ground. The challenge is competing objectives. You've got marketing, operations, and finance that have different objectives within the company. So we've got the department objective on the left-hand column, and the focus is at the top. So we're focusing on customer service, production efficiency, and inventory investment. The marketing team, their department objective is to increase revenue. So they're very focused on high customer service. They don't much care about production efficiency. They just want to make sure that that material is going out the door. Their finished goods are going out the door. And inventory investment, they want to make sure that's high because they don't want to run out of finished goods, for example, when they have a surprise customer order coming in. They want to make sure they've got lots of inventory to handle that. Operations, meanwhile, is their objective is to reduce manufacturing cost. So the customer service is important to everybody, but it's not one of their higher focus components of their business. What they're focused on is production efficiency. They want to make sure that people are busy, the equipment is always in good order, it's always working at top efficiency. And they also want to have a lot of inventory because they want to make sure that that line, the production line, always has enough inventory to work with. Nobody is shut down, the lines are running smoothly. The third component is finance. So finance wants to increase profit and cash flow. They want to reduce their investment. They are very high on customer service focus. They want to make sure that the customer is going to come back for multiple orders. The production efficiency is definitely high on their list because they want to make sure that the equipment is running at the lowest cost possible. But they are very concerned about high inventory. So they want to make sure that the inventory is kept low because that is money tied up on the plant floor. Second thing is strategy. So there's really 3 rules of getting S&OP off the ground. communication, communication, and communication. It's critical that everybody is putting out their plans, communicating their plans, and then it's also very important that you get feedback at every level. So you've got your long-term planning, which is your strategic sales and operations planning. Then you've got your midterm, 3 to 24 months, which is really what we're focusing on here. That's our tactical S&OP. That feedback from that short term or the midterm level must always go back to your long-term planning people so that they know that you are in the right direction and everything is going well. The bottom part is really sales and operations execution. So it is your operational level. That usually is within your frozen zone. So you should have a frozen zone. You don't want to be changing things in the next 2 to 3 months in production or in sales or for your vendors, because at that point you've got everything frozen. You've got all your workforce lined up. You've got your material all set up. So you don't want to change anything in those 0 to 3 months time range or whatever your particular frozen zone happens to be. But the information, again, the feedback must go back to your 3 to 24 month people to say, hey, we missed that 3-month plan. You know, we really ran into some trouble. You guys have to do some different planning in the tactical S&OP phase. The third item is the cost. A lot of times it's hard to get off the ground because people think it costs too much. But if you think about it, you already have some form of a transactional execution system. You are moving product out the door. So you must be executing those transactions somehow. You already have the data. It's probably all over the place. It's in different spreadsheets. It's in different subsystems. It just needs to be centralized and connected so that everybody sees the same data. So is S&OP free? Well, no, it's not free, but it's easily cost justified. The cost of implementing S&OP is actually surprisingly low when you look at it. The primary cost is resource consumption. And finally, we've got time. Everyone is always too busy. There's not enough time to start a new project. But for some reason, there always seems to be enough time to do firefighting, to search for data that you can't find, trying to solve last-minute production problems or distribution problems or inventory shortages, trying to justify cost overruns to management. How much time do you spend in management's office trying to tell them why you had an overrun or a missed shipment? And then finally, trying to recover customer satisfaction. How often do you need to spend a lot of time with customers just to regain their confidence? Now, if you do get a project off the ground for S&OP, here's some of the pitfalls that you should watch for. One of the things that's critical is support from top-level management. If you realize that the decisions made in your monthly S&OP meeting impact the financial plan, then you'll understand that that financial plan is owned by top management. They have to be supportive of what you're doing. Participation by top-level management also sends a message that the project is important. If people see that management is involved, they are going to realize that, hey, this is an important project. I better get on that train. If they don't support you in top-level management, people aren't really going to treat the project with priority. One of the other pitfalls, and this is a big one, this is a lot of people don't realize how much change management is involved in an S&OP implementation. So what you want to do is you want to communicate the benefits of S&OP at the start of the project. Make sure people know why you're doing this and the benefits that they will gain and the benefits that the company will gain. Ensure that you've got representation from every department: finance, sales, your production people, your inventory people, your planners. They all have to be involved. Everybody has to be represented for a number of reasons. One is to make sure that you are taking care of all of their problems in your process. And the second reason is if you miss out on one department, it will impact everybody else, because the whole point of S&OP is everybody working together on the same plan. Make sure the people on the implementation team are fully involved in developing the process. I'm sure that you have been in projects yourself where if you are part of developing the solution, then you are going to be proud of it. You're going to be happy to roll that out to everybody. So if your team members are all part of the solution, they're going to be eager to support the rollout, and they are going to be the champions for change. You won't have to worry about change management if you can get these champions on board. They will do the work for you. Another pitfall is something that you should be aware of right at the start. You are going to go into this dip. So I've got team adoption on the vertical axis and time on the bottom. You'll see at the very beginning, your team is really excited. Let's get at it. We're so excited. We're eager to get this going. We know it's the best thing. Management is supporting us. So it must be good for my career as well. So everybody's excited. Everybody's energized. What happens though is you end up going down this path. Over time, you're going to get to the point where you're thinking, oh, wow, this is really hard. This is harder than I thought. We don't know anything. We've got so much training to do. People are just, getting frustrated. You're going to get into that dip. It happens in just about every project. Be ready for it, be prepared for it, and push yourself through it. So the leader has to make sure that you get through that dip. If you have setbacks, it's not failure. As long as you learn from those setbacks, you're going to move forward. So things are going to start working. You're going to, those setbacks are going to cause you to grow. They're necessary for your growth. And you're going to start having a couple of things that are now working. Things are starting to move upward. As long as the team leader pushes you through that dip, you're going to get up that second uphill battle right to the end, so that at the end everybody's happy with the result. But you've got to make sure that that team leader pushes through that dip. Never quit. So now let's say that you've got the S&OP process going. How do you make it stick? How do you make sure that people stick with the process? Number one thing is you've got to make sure it's well documented. If it's not formalized, it will lose traction. This will be very important, especially when you've got people moving between departments or you've got new people coming on board. If it's well documented, it'll be easy to transfer the knowledge. Keep the meetings productive. So you've got your monthly S&OP cadence, and you've got your meetings usually near the end of the month. Keep them productive. Make sure people want to go to those meetings. Throughout the month, you're going to be communicating with all the different departments just to prepare for your monthly S&OP meeting. But you've got to make sure that any issues that are still outstanding, you've got the data coming to the meeting, and you've also got to be ready to present solutions to your problem. What you don't want to happen is to be spending a lot of time in a 1-hour meeting, spending 55 minutes on trying to figure out one solution. The thing to watch for is don't skip a month. It's very easy to get very busy. You've got maybe a seasonal product and you've got everybody is running around trying to get things done, but you don't want to skip a month. As soon as you skip a month, it'll start to develop a lack of respect for the process. Monitor and publish the benefits regularly. Cheer on the team. Celebrate your successes. Maybe show that your expedite costs are down, your stockouts have reduced. You've got less interruptions to your manufacturing and distribution people. Maybe you've got some good feedback from them that things are running much more smoothly. You've reduced your lost orders and you've reduced your missed or late shipments. Celebrate those and publish them and make sure everybody knows that, hey, what we've done is really making a difference. Knowing about volume or mix changes earlier, it actually empowers management. So if they know that something is off track, one of your product lines is off track, for example, what they want to do is know that early enough in the process that they can now pivot to another product line, or they can put in some sort of marketing initiative to change that problem so that the volume goes up. The mix itself, you might want to change to a different product line to make up for the lost volume in another product line. So what this does, by knowing about this early in the process and knowing about it months ahead of time, it will empower management. So they're going to feel good about being in control. So sales and operations planning would not be needed if things never changed. Obviously, that's not our world. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that all this is in place. It's all collaboratively done. Everybody has the same information. They've got meetings, they've got collaboration happening. So the next time you have a major disruption, you're going to be ready to pivot. I'm just going to go through a case study that we recently were involved with. The company itself is a leading food and beverage company in Asia Pacific. It produces and markets juices, soft drinks, beer, and dairy products. It's present in 12 countries across Asia Pacific, Europe, and the United States, and it employs over 7,500 people worldwide. It's got over 25 sales offices, over 30 regional warehouses, and they have a high stock keeping unit count, some of which is perishable. The problem that we were faced with is that they had manual and isolated process steps in the planning process. So information was basically all over the place. They had spreadsheets, they had systems on their desktops. It was very manual and very silo driven. They had limited insight into demand patterns, so they couldn't see trends or seasonality very easily. Because of the widespread customer base and the multiple product lines, it was very difficult to come up with a forecast plan and keep it up to date. Oftentimes, forecasts were missed. There was difficulty creating a timely rolling demand forecast, so they were not able to roll that forecast through and know early enough that a decision had to be made different than what they were doing. And it was very difficult to obtain an accurate picture of demand and supply. So the result that they were having is they had stockouts, they had missed shipments, and they had very high expedite costs. And the expedite costs are a very good indication, a very good tool actually to use to justify a sales and operations planning process. The solution was to establish a formal monthly S&OP process. And then by formal, make sure it's documented, make sure everybody sticks to that formal process. The plan was to create a time model supporting 18 months of a rolling forecast. So every month that rolled forward, but you always saw 18 months into the future. The sales forecasting process was started with a statistical forecast, and it was on a single system everybody had access to. The statistical forecast was a starting point, and then sales and demand planners were able to fine-tune that forecast and change it based on marketing situations that were in existence at the time. We were planning to have them have a collaborative demand planning system that would result in a consensus demand plan. We would feed this into a constraint-based distribution, inventory, and production plan. So we would have to constrain the consensus demand plan to make sure that the demand plan that was agreed to is something that we could actually come up with and make sure we satisfy. And we also wanted to make sure that we flagged demand supply imbalances to the planners, and then that could be brought to the S&OP meetings. If there was an imbalance, the S&OP meeting is where they would resolve those imbalances. The result was a single platform for the global teams to collaborate and make decisions on demand and supply. The teams could review their sales and their new product plans, and key is they could come up with an agreed upon demand plan. They were able to see an accurate demand picture that would allow early identification of supply requirements, capacity problems, or demand exceptions that they would have to respond to. And the improved forecast accuracy was a result of the collaborative sales and operations planning process. So we are Keansa Solutions. We have global offices in India, Singapore, Amsterdam, and Canada, and our global delivery center is in Hyderabad. We have a gold partnership with JetOx, and we're also their preferred S&OP consultant globally. We also are experienced in other EPM tools such as Anaplan, E2Open, and SteelWedge. Our domain expertise is financial planning, sales planning, S&OP, supply chain planning solutions, and we use technology enablers for complete solutions. Thank you very much. I thank you for joining me, and I will be very happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.